So who has a poem they would like to read? Jyoti apparently has one.
No, I'm looking for one.
She's looking for one. Okay, I'll read one from Hafiz then. This is called Our Union. And the thing to understand about Hafiz, I say that it's in my opinion, of course, the thing to understand about Hafiz is that he really wants to reach out to us. He doesn't recognize time and space. He reaches out to us. So this is his poem. It's I believe the first one in his, yeah, I'm going to read two then. I'm going to read the very first one in his section, and notice to whom he refers. He was a Sufi mystic, and the Sufis adore Christ, and you can see it in this poem. The Christ's breath. I am a hole in a flute that the Christ's breath moves through. Listen to this music. I am a hole in a flute that the Christ's breath moves through. Listen to this music. So this is why one of the reasons that these poems are called love poems from God, because these mystics see themselves as the divine, as one with the divine being. And so the next one is called Our Union. Our union is like this. You feel cold, so I reach for a blanket to cover our shivering feet. A hunger comes into your body, so I run to my garden and start digging potatoes. You asked for a few words of comfort and guidance, and I quickly kneel by your side, offering you a whole book as a gift. You ache with loneliness one night so much you weep, and I say, here is a rope, tie it around me. Hafiz will be your companion for life. And the thing that brings me to tears about these poems when I read them, I usually read them early in the morning. So it's a very sweet time. The thing that brings me to tears about them is not just the content, but this depth of sincerity and love that just comes pouring through these poems. Just comes pouring through them.
Well, I have a poem or two.
Oh, good, Heidi.
We're ready to move on.
Please be close to the microphone so we can hear you well.
Okay. Okay, the first one is from St. Francis of Assisi, and it's 32. And it's called When I Returned from Rome.
Oh, yes.
They're all new to me, so. When I returned from Rome, a bird took flight, and a flower in a field whistled at me as I passed. I drank from a stream of clear water. And at night, the sky untied her hair, and I fell asleep, clutching a tress of God. When I returned from home, all said, "Tell us the great news." And with great excitement, I did. A flower in a field whistled. And at night, the sky untied her hair, and I fell asleep, clutching a sacred tress.
Yeah, you can imagine that isn't what they expected to hear, but maybe that was what they expected to hear because they knew him. they knew he was not a normal guy.
Right,
He wasn't going to bring them the news from Rome.
right. Well, that's what just struck me in the poem. I mean, to me, it said like, like God is everywhere, and it's not the great exclamations or the great news. It's little everyday things, the birds, the clean water, and that kind of stuff, that God lives in and is just so abounded around us.
Yes.
So, and I love that line too about at night the sky untied her hair. I just love how they express them. I mean, like you say, Shankara, that take them literally, not metaphorically. That really must have happened on his journey home from Rome.
Yes. My heart, I absolutely believe they're saying what actually happened.
Yeah. And I mean, metaphorically, like I think of, okay, like in the morning you open the curtain, right? If you have a tie back, like I have some tie backs on my curtains, you open the curtains and, God's light shines through. So at night, you take the tie backs off, you're taking your hair down out of that tie back or that tail.
Right.
And you're just closing the curtain because it's dark. I mean, so even metaphorically, I like to, kind of play around with it, but I hear what you're saying about literal meaning too.
Well, I just think they mean it. I think that's the news as far as he was concerned. The night untied her hair.
Yeah.
You said you had more than one?
I do. And I'm reading in the morning too. It's not like first thing in the morning, but I'm reading, I just get caught up in it and I have to catch myself and put it down and, get on to some other things.
Isn't that nice to have that feeling? Oh, I have to put
I
this
know
down.
it. So, but I'm still very new to this book. So let's see.
Yeah.
Page 28. Oh yeah, I like this one too. This is Rabia. Okay, page 28. It's right where St. Francis of Assisi, the biography starts there. And it's called This Choir. So amazing, this choir of socks, shoes, shirt, skirt, undergarments, earth, sky, sun, and moon. No wonder I too now sing all day.
Yes.
Isn't that great?
It is.
Yeah.
Again, the little things, I mean, the Creator, all the things we need for our day, a shoe or a sock or, undergarments.
Yeah.
And then, the sky and the sun and the moon, the bigger things. But,
Yes.
His glory,
Nothing is left out.
it's what I hear in that. And also when we, like the Bible says, when we sing, we pray twice or something like that. So I see that in this poem as well.
Yeah. And she's calling it all the choir. It's all singing. It's all singing somehow.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hello there, Cindy. Hello.
Howdy.
I have a poem.
Please.
It's by Hafiz on page 157. And the title is Lousy at Math.
Oh.
Once, a group of thieves stole a rare diamond larger than 2 goose eggs. Its value could have easily bought 3,000 horses and 3,000 acres of the most fertile land in Shiraz. The thieves got drunk that night to celebrate their great haul. But during the course of the evening, the effects of the liquor and their mistrust of each other grew to such an extent they decided to divide the stone into pieces. Of course, then the priceless became lost. Most everyone is lousy at math and does that to God. Dissects the indivisible one, dissects the indivisible one by saying, this is my beloved. He looks like this and acts like that. How could that moron over there really be God?
I love that one.
Yeah, I do too. And notice that the word priceless is capitalized.
Yes.
The use of capital letters is so important in reading these poems, because whenever they capitalize something, they're meaning the entire one, the entire thing, the priceless.
I mean, it is.
How can that moron over there be God?
Right. Yeah. So this obviously, in these times of such strife and division, this poem really struck a chord.
Yes.
And the other thing that came to my mind, kind of tangentially related, I guess, is in some of the talks of Swami Sarvapriyananda, he talks about the story of the 10th man.
Yes.
I believe it is from the Upanishads. And there also it's lousy math that makes them forget their own, the inner self.
Yeah. Oh, where's the 10th man? He must have gotten lost in the river. There were 10 of us when we started.
Right.
But now there's only 9 of us. That's a wonderful story. Yeah. Forgetting to count himself. And as I remember the story, he counts twice. He's not sure the first time he counts again.
Right.
Forgets both times.
Right. Yeah. Is that from one of the Upanishads? I believe it is. In one of the talks I heard that it is from.
Dear.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of years since I started studying this. Just where things come from sometimes eludes me.
Right. Yeah.
But I really think, most everyone is lousy at math, he says.
Yeah.
That story about the 10th man, I think that's one of those sort of archetypal stories. that's been around forever in every culture, like those doodles that that you saw the other day.
Yeah, right, right.
Amazing. These ancient cultures had these same symbols, you know, ones that had not touched each other yet, cultures that had not.
Makes you believe in the Tower of Babel. Before we all got split up, there was a lot of commonality. What Cindy's talking about is they're researchers, anthropologists and archaeologists from around the world have found in caves all over the world, and I mean all over the world, the same sets of symbols from cultures that it could not have been diffusion. You know, it couldn't have been somebody came trotting by and said, "Oh, here's the symbols from my culture. You might want to adopt them." So this, either it's, as Cindy said, archetypal, it's in the collective unconscious somehow, or anyway, it's puzzling and exciting to the scientists who are studying it.
Oh, I can.
Cindy, do you have one that you want to read?
I do, but I'm trying to do something nerdy right now. I'm trying to upload that image to the chat. I think I can. Wait a second. Let's see. Oh, it's not going to let me. Oh, it is going to let me. Okay. So I uploaded it to the chat. So if anybody wants to look at that Doodles graphic that we were talking about, it's in the chat. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I think I have a poem. If there's everybody else done theirs, or you just.
I think Jyoti has one when she's ready.
Are you ready, Jyoti, or you want me to?
You can go.
Okay, see if I can find. Okay, I have a whole bunch of them. And I honestly can't remember now. This is one of the things about jumping around in a book like this, is that I don't remember for sure that we haven't done this one. So, but if we have, you know, all of these are worth doing again, I think.
Amen.
I've always loved this one, and it's Meister Eckhart, and it's on page 91. It's the first one after his bio ends. And it's called When I Was the Forest. When I was the stream, when I was the forest, when I was still the field, when I was every hoof, foot, fin, and wing, when I was the sky itself, no one ever asked me, did I have a purpose? No one ever wondered, was there anything I might need? For there was nothing I could not love. It was when I left all we once were that the agony began. The fear and questions came, and I wept, and tears I had never known before. So I returned to the river. I returned to the mountains. I asked for their hand in marriage again. I begged to wed every object and creature. And when they accepted, God was ever present in my arms. And he did not say, "Where have you been?" For then I knew my soul, every soul, has always held him. Kind of makes me think of the Kogi people.
Yes. The Kogi people that Cindy refers to are people who live in a very high mountainous region of Colombia on the Caribbean side, on the Caribbean coastal side, but very high up. And they have a total relationship. I mean, their relationship, and they train their children to it. A total relationship with all reality, both manifest and unmanifest. And any of you who want to know more about them, there's a film that you can watch that was made by them. It's a warning to us. It's Kogi, Kogi. And the film is called Aluna, Aluna, Aluna. And in the Kogi language, it means conscience. So, and if any of you, we're publishing a link to it in the next issue of American Vedantist, which will be out sometime real soon. And you can either find it there or you can go to YouTube and find it. It's an absolutely fascinating film.
I just put the link to the YouTube movie in the chat.
Bless your heart, dear. You are so good at these things.
I'm just a nerd. I'm just a computer nerd.
Thanks, Cindy.
So yes, that poem by Meister Eckhart is really Ladinksy, his arrangement of the poems for each of the mystics is very intentional. There's a through line, so to speak, of their work. And this is an announcement of Eckhart's illumination, if you will.
Y'all ready for me?
Yeah.
Always.
So this poem is by St. Thomas Aquinas, and it's on page 135. The title is, Does God Understand Himself? Does God understand Himself? Not in the form of creation. For creation simultaneously exists and does not exist. How could that not be in a mind that is infinite? Thus, God holds no one accountable, especially himself, at all. If you had a dream in which someone broke into your house and stole a certain object, would you, upon waking and finding that item still there, call the constable? Not if you were in your right mind. And whenever God wakes in us, his/our thinking becomes clear. Nothing is missing. And how could he not forgive then what never really happened? and/or what he caused.
Please read that again. That is such a profound poem.
Does God understand himself? Does God understand himself not in the form of creation? For creation simultaneously exists and does not exist. How could that not be in a mind that is infinite? Thus, God holds no one accountable, especially himself, at all. If you had a dream in which someone broke into your house and stole a certain object, would you, upon waking and finding that item still there, call the constable? Not if you were in your right mind. And whenever God wakes in us, his/our thinking becomes clear. Nothing is missing. And how could he not forgive then what never really happened and or what he caused?
Over and over, these saints tell us that there's nothing wrong at all, that we are living a dream. And in the dream, it seems, as the poem says here, something has been stolen, something's missing, something's wrong. But when we wake up, it's not so.
Stop connecting.
Hello, Catherine.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
It's okay. It's quite all right. You were just saluted. I just said hello.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
I'm really glad you chose that poem, Jyoti. That is such a, I mean, that poem, you can think about that poem all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking a lifetime you could spend on that one.
It's
Right.
deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it is so forgiving. It is so forgiving, so compassionate.
Yeah.
That analogy is so good about, getting robbed in the dream and then waking up and, would you call the constable? It's a beautiful way of driving the point that this is a sort of dream that we think we are missing something.
Yeah. And always these saints have this little, the corners of their mouths are always turned up. There's always a little smile, always a little joke. Would you call the constable? Not if you're in your right mind. Nothing to call the constable about.
I want to just interject, not so much move on, but read a very short poem that's not in the book, but it's on my wall right here on this. I have this big picture of this sort of mountain and a lot of mist and stuff, but it's a Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. I mean, yes. He says, be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Which is that there's nothing missing. There's,
And you know, here we hear from another saint, from another time, another tradition, you know, same message. Time for us to wake up.
Mhm.
I pray for that moment every day.
That moment's now.
Yeah, right.
And like Glinda the Good Witch told Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, you had it all along.
Yes. All you had to do was click your heels 3 times.
Click those heels and you got it, girl.
That's a nice memory to bring in, Heidi. Yes. The woman who played Glinda the Good had such a wonderful voice, so warm and loving. It was just one of the high points of the movie when she appeared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody else got another poem? Anything they'd like to read?
I can read another poem if.
We'd love that.
Okay. This is on page 82, and it is a poem by Rumi, and it's titled Hey, H-E-Y, Hey.
I love this poem.
The grass beneath a tree is content and silent. The grass beneath a tree is content and silent. A squirrel holds an acorn in its praying hands, offering thanks, it looks like. The nut tastes sweet. I bet the prayer spiced it up somehow. The broken shell falls on the grass, and the grass looks up and says, hey. And the squirrel looks down and says, hey. I have been saying hey lately too to God. Formalities just were not working.
I love that line. Formalities just were not working. Yeah. Hey.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the reason this poem kind of gave me a little tickle is that's how, you know, the younger generation, like my son, when he sends email or text, it's not like, hey, mom, or hey. So I said, okay, I shouldn't feel bad if we can address God as hey. Then, you know, it's just closeness.
And spontaneity, you know.
Right.
Formalities.
Yeah.
Versus spontaneity.
Right.
Hey.
God. Hey.
Hey, God.
Well, I have another one.
Good, Heidi. Good.
I don't know if it's been read or not, but it's on page 38. And I think it is St. Francis of Assisi. You can tell where I've been reading lately. It's called Always from the Child's Hand. Always from the child's hand. always from the child's hand, the sword should be removed. I think every nation is an infant.
Beautiful.
Well, you know, it's interesting that historically, nations were a relatively new thing in St. Francis of Assisi's time. There had been empires, there had been city-states, but these nations were a relatively new idea. And just like now, they seem to love to make war with one another.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of relevant for today's,
Yeah.
just in general, the rioting, just kind of where we are as a country.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our leaders act more like children many times than they do adults, don't they?
Oh, amen, amen, amen.
Okay, and then I have another one, if it's okay.
Please.
Yeah, this is on page 48, called Wringing Out My Clothes.
Oh, yes.
And again, these might have been already, covered, but
No. It's just I happen to remember that one from St. Francis.
Wringing out my clothes. Such love does the sky now pour, that whenever I stand in a field, I have to wring out the light when I get home.
I might have to steal some of that.
Yeah.
Put it in a song. That's just great.
That is great. You think of wringing out your clothes, like when you get out of the rain, and I mean, that is, I think, another analogy here, but just, I've never quite thought of wringing out, the light of God's love when I got home, just that much, and that, just so, just the enormity of that.
Yeah, the underlying idea that it's pouring down on us every moment, especially like light in a field. Mm.
Yeah.
Another one of St. Francis of Assisi's, it's in that section. God's admiration for us is infinitely greater than anything we can conjure up for him.
That's actually on the opposite page from the one I just read.
Yeah. It is kind of nice some of these poems are so short, you can remember them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what Ladinksy did is go through not just their published works, these saints, but he went through their journals and letters. And he found bits and pieces that he would sometimes make into a poem. They hadn't necessarily written it as a poem. And I'm sure that little piece that was just quoted, God's admiration for us is infinitely greater than anything we can conjure up for him. I'll just bet you anything that was in a letter. That's just my guess, that he wrote to someone. Just like William Blake, writing to a friend who was in real distress, wrote, We ought to think of ourselves as highly as immortals ought to think. He was trying to share with his friend a much higher way of thinking about himself. The guy was really in, we'd say now, in the dumps, depressed. We ought to think of ourselves as highly as immortals ought to think. Which is just a mirror for what St. Francis of Assisi said.
I have one I really like. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's on page 333. The title is First, He Looked Confused. I could not lie anymore, so I started calling my dog God. First, he looked confused. Then he started smiling. Then he even danced. I kept at it. Now he doesn't even bite. I am wondering if this might work on people.
I love that one.
Yeah, I do too. That's Tukaram, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tukaram. You talk about somebody who's got the corners of his mouth turned up. He is just, his work is just full of humor. You read the biography of him, how he departed this world is just, sweet beyond imagination. Why don't you read that? That's right there. Why don't you just read that last few paragraphs about how he left the world?
Many miracles are attributed to Tukaram, and he is often compared to St. Francis of Assisi, as animals and birds so loved him and he them. Birds often rode on his shoulders and sat on his instrument, which he kept slung around his neck when not playing it. With cymbals in hand and ecstatic tears on his face, he would be seen in the streets dancing and singing his poems to God. One day, Tukaram playfully said to his close ones, God is becoming jealous of the earth's love for me, and he wonders if I would mind retiring from being so cute. Tukaram then informed his wife that God would be sending a taxi for him tomorrow, and did she want to come? She declined, saying, who would take care of our beautiful cows the way I do? The next day, Tukaram invited some close ones to walk part way with him toward Bandara. About halfway there, he stopped, held their hands, and looking deep into their eyes with remarkable love, tenderly kissed each person, then walked off alone and was never seen again.
My.
That's what I mean when these people say things like God's sending a taxi for me. They're not blowing smoke. Mm-hmm.
How beautiful and peaceful,
Yes. Each one of these saints, that's why this book is so dear. Each one of these saints is just, because of their unity with the divine, so that whatever they write is from God. It's just a treasure that Ladinksy has created, something truly priceless.
I have one. It's a short one. It's by Rumi. It's not only, I think, a really good piece, but it's a great sort of therapeutic exercise, which I actually do every once in a while. I do it again. Okay, it's called Spiritual Health.
Page.
Oh, I'm sorry. 72. 72, which adds up to 9.
Yep.
Number 9. Okay. A good gauge of spiritual health is to write down the 3 things you most want. A good gauge of spiritual health is to write down the 3 things you most want. If they in any way differ, you are in trouble. First time I read that, I was like, whoa, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Indeed, it's such a coincidence. I had picked the same poem to read
Oh,
next.
And I actually read this one earlier this morning, and I thought the same thing. Oh my, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well,
But it's good to do it, write down, because I've been doing that for years. I journal a little bit, and that's one of the things I do is just, it's a little bit of affirmation, but mostly just kind of organizing my thoughts about, what I'd like to, where I'd like to be in however many years. And it's more and more the same than it used to be. It's a lot more the same than it used to be. So, but yeah, that's fun.
yeah, it flails around. I want to be like them. No, I want to be authentically like me. That will mean I'll be like them. So it what I think he's getting at is when you find the truth of your heart, what your heart truly wants, there will be no difference. There won't be any. But the mind, oh, the mind. It's 10 to 9.
I have another one.
Please, Heidi.
Okay, it's on page 63. It's a Rumi. It's by Rumi, and it's called Gainful Employment. These just aren't words you are reading. If you churn them, you could have some good cream. If you keep working with my poems, you could open up a shop and sell the finest butter. If you fell in love with Rumi, you could give gainful employment to your family and have fun together hawking my wonderful cheese. Oh,
Would you read that again, Heidi? It is
yes,
this it's just
yes, gainful employment. These just aren't words you are reading. If you churn them, you could have some good cream. If you kept working with my poems, you could open up a shop and sell the finest butter. If you fell in love with Rumi, you could give gainful employment to your family and have fun together hawking my wonderful cheese.
What an invitation, huh? What an invitation.
Right. And of course, the cream and the butter and the cheese are just a metaphor for, you could put anything in there, right? I mean, he's just using that as an example, or?
Those wonderful dairy products are, are very special to anybody who really likes them.
Well, I'm from the dairy state, Wisconsin, so, I do like them too.
Yeah.
Except cheese. I don't eat much cheese, but other than that.
I can't eat much cheese these days either because of the salt content, but I would if I could.
I think this also sort of brings up the, I would say, importance of introducing children to literature and, poems much more than, I don't know, I didn't go to school here and I don't know what the curriculum is like, but sometimes the emphasis on literature and poetry and things is taking a back seat. And I think they're missing out on the cream and butter.
Yeah. That's a very good insight, I think, Swayam. Introduce your whole family.
Right.
Who knows, Grandma and Grandpa might benefit too. Well, I just want to, before we wind up, I want to take note that that this is the last Monday in August. We said we would do this through August, but there's a feeling here, anyway, with Jyoti and myself, that we would like to continue this. June Schuster has also weighed in on that, saying that she would like to continue. So what does everybody think? Do we have a date for next Monday night and so on?
I have enjoyed this, but I will not be able to join because I'm taking a course through the Vedanta Center in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
So I have signed up for that, and that starts, I think, from next Monday.
Uh-huh.
Runs through October.
So you've signed up for the Vedanta Life Academy, have you?
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh. Very good. Well, you'll get a great deal out of that, I can guarantee you.
Right. And the time is the same thing. I think they also start, well, maybe they start at 9. I have to go look. If they start at 9, then I can attend this and then go up onto that. I'll check the timing. I'm kind of
as pleases yourself, dear. What does everybody else think?
I'm in.
That's Catherine says yes.
Yeah, I would be.
So that's Heidi. I think we have a majority. We have a quorum. We have a majority. So we're off and running. Good. Well, this is lovely. Sharing these poems, and there's lots and lots of poems in the book. So we won't run out of material. And as somebody pointed out earlier, even if we read it before, they're good enough to hear again any old time. Hello there, Catherine. It's good to see you.
Yeah. Whose birthday?
Oh, that was a while ago. That was my son's. He was in August.
Oh,
Just around.
So, anybody got one more poem they want to read?
I do.
Okay.
It's from Catherine of Siena, St. Catherine of Siena, page 200.
Oh, I'm so glad you're pulling her in. Good.
two.
What page?
203. And it's your hair, your face. What is it you want to change? Your hair, your face, your body? Why? For God is in love with all those things, and he might weep when they are gone.
Read it again, please, dear. So
Your
sweet.
hair, your face. What is it you want to change? Your hair, your face, your body? Why? For God is in love with all those things, and he might weep when they are gone.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that one.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, St. Catherine of Siena and St. Teresa of Avila both address these things. You know, these Catholic nuns, they had a rigorous life. Mhm. And so they often address these seemingly homely things, but with such profundity. St. Catherine of Siena is, I'm so glad that Ladinksy included her. She's often not given the attention I think she deserves. Somebody read another one of her poems, either yourself, Catherine, or somebody else.
Vulnerable is from her, isn't it? Vulnerable?
Say it again.
Vulnerable? I wrote it on the back. I'm not sure if it's from her or not.
Well,
Yes,
there's,
it's page 185.
okay.
Vulnerable. Vulnerable we are, like an infant. We need each other's care, or we will suffer.
Yes. Is there a longer one from her there?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 197. To even dress. A great helplessness I felt at times to even dress myself some days. So I prayed with all my heart, dear God, help me. It is not possible for love to not hear us. And whatever happens, the perfect teacher staged. What would a wise, powerful king allow a beloved child to see?
Or read that again, please.
To even dress. A great helplessness I felt at times to even dress myself some days. So I prayed with all my heart, dear God, help me. It is not possible for love to not hear us. And whatever happens, the perfect teacher staged. What would a wise, powerful king allow a beloved child to see?
It's so encouraging to us when we hear these saints say they're vulnerable, that some days it's hard to even get themselves together enough to dress themselves. It's encouraging because all of us have those times, those moments. It's beautiful. What time's it gotten to be?
It's 9:02.
It's 9:02, which adds up to 11, which is Mother's number. And this is, I play this game with numbers. It's in the spirit of Swami Prabhavananda saying, give everything a Godward turn. So, I always, numbers are one way you can think, well, this number represents that aspect of God. And so that's why I did that. So until next Monday then, which will be the 7th? Yeah, I guess it'll be the 7th.
Yeah. Labor Day.
Labor Day. All right. So we'll close with this. Amen. And putting you in the Divine Mother's hands, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. So we have her attention. May she protect us.
Are we starting class tomorrow, Brother Shankara?
Oh yes, absolutely. We'll have our regular Tuesday night class about Mother tomorrow night. Yeah, and then Wednesday the Gita. Saturday Realizing God. And then on Sunday there's a talk called A Little Improvement. And so there you are. We're off and running. This is the end of August. So the summer break is over.
Where did the time go?
Right. Time flies when you're having fun. Well,
That's right.
let's keep the corners of our mouths turned up. Find a way to keep the corners of our mouths turned up. If need be, we just got to read one of these saints.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
What is that you're holding up, Sid?
It's a bird on top of a kitty cat.
Oh my goodness.
This is a woman. She's an artist. She lives in Hawaii. She does little whimsical things like that.
Oh, that's funny. That'll turn your mouth, corner of your mouth up, huh?
Right.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Until tomorrow evening, those of you who to join us. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.